Today's movie section is a sequel we never ever thought we were going to get is finally in production and bringing back some shocking cast announcements. It's super huge. Sequel for a huge animated blockbuster has already been canceled. We will be discussing the latest casting for DCU's Clayface because we have confirmations there. We also are looking at a fan petition to save a horror icon location, an iconic horror location. There we go. From the Wrecking Ball, there's a lot of stuff going on in movies, so here we go. Welcome, nerds, to the Clips channel. You are about to watch the movie news for the week, at least since the last time you were here, probably. So, movie news, this is a smaller portion of a larger video. If you want to get all of the nerdy news, all of the pop culture stuff that's going on, go check out the main channel, Generally Nerdy. The name of the show you're looking for is called The Week in Nerddom, and that's where you can get everything. Or you can just stay here and specifically watch movie news. We're going to talk about upcoming movies. We're going to talk about things that are happening in the box office right now, see how they're doing, that kind of stuff, and yeah, the kind of everything pertaining to movies. So let's jump into that. I'm going to cut in here real quick, nerds, and just remind you that we have a channel partner, DUBBY. See where we can get that in focus. DUBBY! Hi, DUBBY! Yeah! Channel partner DUBBY. Drinks like this, the jugs, there's like 30 servings in here. It comes out to roughly $1 per serving. So one serving is approximately 8 to 10 ounces. If you do like I do and you drink them in bigger things like this, then you usually are probably going to use 2 servings, but that's still $2. Whereas, you know, you spend $5 at the gas station to get an energy drink there. So there's that. But also, when it comes in a powder like this, if you're starting your physical fitness journey like I kind of am these days, then you can mix the caffeine with the nootropics and the brain power stuff with your protein, and you can be getting a little bit of a really awesome pre-workout going there. So yeah, we're not going to do a long spot for them this week, but just know that they're there. You can go to dubby.gg and go check out all the things they have. They are the only energy drink maker that does a s'mores flavored energy drink. I just ordered mine, so it'll be here in a couple of days, and I will let you know just how delicious it is, but I expect it to be pretty delicious. So there's that. And then code at checkout is Generally Nerdy, all one word, and you get 10% off of everything in your cart. So not just the drinks, but like if you get a shaker bottle or you get the hydration drinks, because they have more than just energy drinks, they have hydration stuff as well, which is also dope. There's merch. They have a million different kinds of shaker bottles. It's good stuff. I appreciate the people over at DUBBY. They're super helpful. They're super awesome for partnering with the channel. Go check them out. Once again, dubby.gg, code Generally Nerdy for 10% off at checkout. Thank you very much, nerds. Let's get back to the show. All right, so follow-ups and corrections for movies. The big one here is Spaceballs 2. We already knew it was happening, so the fact that everyone's making a big stink about it happening this week is a little silly, but, you know, to each their own, I suppose. But the big thing here is we have an approximate release window, as well as casting announcements, and these are freaking huge. First up, we have release in 2027. So we have a year and a half before we get to lay eyes on this at least. So sometime in 2027, which is really funny because Mel Brooks, by the time it is in theaters, will be 100 years old. And he is returning not only as a producer, because it was his property to begin with, so of course he's producing it. Josh Gad, if you remember, is the one who wrote the script. Josh Gad will also be in the movie, we now know for certain, as the son of Barf, so that's pretty freaking awesome. But Mel Brooks will be returning as Yogurt. No word if he's going to be returning as any other, because he played multiple roles. It's a Mel Brooks movie. He's usually at least one primary or secondary role rather, and then a really quick cameo as somebody else, which always makes me laugh because Mel Brooks. But he's returning at the very least as Yogurt. And then we have Bill Pullman returns as Lone Star, Rick Moranis as Darth Helmet, Daphne Zuniga, wow, sorry, will be returning as Princess Vespa. Obviously, Obviously, we won't be getting Joan Rivers because she has passed, and sadly, so has John Candy. Unfortunately, I'm sure they would have done this movie, though, if they were still around, because why not? It's such a classic. I think all of the primary cast is covered by that list, though we do have new characters that are being cast for this. We also have Keke Palmer coming in as a character named Destiny, Lewis Pullman, aka Sentry, aka the son of Bill Pullman, so it kind of makes sense because he's playing Starburst, who is the son of Princess Vespa and Lone Star, which is kind of hilarious. And then once again, Josh Gad will be playing the son of Barf. So super stoked on this one. Oh my god, I love Spaceballs so much. There was a quote from Josh Gad, which I'm not going to quote exactly, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but quote from Josh Gad, now that they're announcing these things and they're moving forward with the project, about how he was one of the kids that saw Spaceballs first and couldn't understand why anyone would do a dramatic reinterpretation of a Mel Brooks movie when he saw Star Wars after he saw Spaceballs. Yeah, it's that, yeah, I was almost that kid, but I do definitely remember seeing Star Wars, at least on a pirated VHS at my grandparents' house before I saw Spaceballs. So, but still, that like, yeah, 100% feel like that is my spiritual, like, loving it. Anyway, continuing on, I'm losing my words. Next up, we have Transformers 1. We now officially know that it will not be getting a sequel. It comes from one of the producers on the project, has said that it is dead in the water, though there is still a future for the Transformers franchise, just not that branch of the Transformers franchise. And then the other giant piece of casting news this week is Clayface. We now have an official actor to play whichever version of Clayface they've decided to go with. Tom Rice Harries is going to be the one who plays. He has a filmography. This isn't his first movie, but I didn't recognize really anything. Known for roles are not immediately recognizable probably by anybody in the community, unless you're more of a modern film buff than I am, which is entirely possible, but I still don't know that he's going to be a face that many people recognize. James Gunn apparently loves this kid, though, so let's hope he does fantastic. Like, really was gushing in the announcement for this. That is what we have for follow-up, so let's move over to trailers for the movie section. Trailers this week. First, we have another trailer for I Know What You Did Last Summer, which I feel like is elaborating a little bit more, so we fully, or have a better understanding anyway, of what Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jennifer Love Hewitt are doing in this movie. And every little bit of trailer that we get is making this movie look less and less appealing, so there's that. We also got the trailer for the new Bruce Springsteen movie called Deliver Me From Nowhere. Jeremy Allen White is always a win. Also, Jeremy, what's his name, Strong, who was from Succession, also usually a win. I don't think I've seen him in anything bad, but I also haven't seen the Trump movie, so there's that. But yeah, I can safely say Jeremy Allen White is always a win. Even if what he's in is not great, he is always great. And I think that's about all of it that I'm really excited about in this movie. Like, the rest of this looks pretty subpar. Well, mediocre, I guess, is probably more appropriate. Is right in down the middle lane of just like, let's just do what everybody else does. We're gonna take a couple liberties with the life of Bruce Springsteen, and then we're gonna pretend like he's still relevant, which I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack for that because it's the boss and he's a great musician, blah, blah, blah. He was a great musician up through into the 90s, I would even argue. But past that, I feel like he's a nostalgia act and no longer has anything relevant to add to the conversation, be it in the musical side of things or in the now social political side of things, because he started out as a working man kind of dude and now he's Hollywood royalty and is so disconnected from his fans, he has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And I know I'm going to get grief for that too, but whatever, we're continuing on. We do have one piece of regular-ass news this week in movies, and it has to do with Dawn of the Dead, the OG George A. Romero Dawn of the Dead. The shopping mall that they shot that in is the Monroeville Mall. Ken Foree, who was in the movie at the time and has been a horror staple ever since. I actually got to sit down and interview him once, though that interview does not exist on this channel because because the file got corrupted on the memory card, and sadly, like, I have a couple of moving images of the two of us in the room together, but none of the audio lines up and the video cuts out really, really quick. So sadly, I can't post the interview, but I did get to interview him once, and he's a really cool dude, as evidenced by the fact that he's trying to save the mall that they shot the movie in. So the Walmart bought the property that the mall sits on a couple years back. They have not said one way or the other what their plans are for that property, though with the way that malls are going these days, it would seem that the mall probably isn't doing very well, and Walmart is a company that is all about making that bottom line, so very probably it will be bulldozed. Ken Foree, once again, has started a petition to try and save this mall. You can find it down in the show notes. It is at change.org. And I mean, there have been conventions held at this mall in honor of the Dawn of the Dead. There's events at this place. They should have a plaque for George A. Romero, but they don't. This is just like such a piece of American history at this point. Like, it makes sense that a preservation act would be underway to preserve it. That's pretty awesome of Ken, and definitely we will be keeping tabs on this one as it progresses. I have not yet checked out the change.org petition to see when it ends and so on and so forth, so definitely, again, link in the description, go check that out. That is what we have for regular ass news. Let's talk about suggestions this week. Our suggestion this week is Dredd from, what was the year? 2012. The Karl Urban version of the character, not the Sylvester Stallone version of the character. Though that one has its merits, it is nowhere near as comic accurate as the Karl Urban version. The 2000 AD comic Judge Dredd is kind of like, there is a better version of this that could have been made, sure, but there isn't a better version of this that has been made. And honestly, Karl Urban is the guy. He's the one who's been trying to push for them to make that mega city show for years and years, because he wants to return to the helmet of Judge Dredd, because Karl Urban's just a badass like that. But to this day, we don't have the mega city show, and we don't have Karl Urban returning to Dredd, so you must just settle for the original the Dredd movie that he did. It's it's kind of a day in the life of kind of situation. You also get, what's her name that played Cersei Lannister in the Game of Thrones movie. She's the villain. It's honestly just like everything. If you have ever picked up a Judge Dredd comic and you went, oh, well, this would be a really cool movie, you get most of that paid off in this movie. It's just good. It's not deep. There's no like crazy new meaning to cinema for watching it. It's just a hell of a lot of fun. A really great representation of the character and the world the character lives in. And like, you can't really ask for much more than that. So that is your suggestion this week, Dredd from 2012.
Subscribe. That is all.
Thank you very much, nerds, for tuning in. If you want to level up your nerdy, geeky, pop culture knowledge, then don't forget to subscribe and do all of the things. Go check out the main channel, Generally Nerdy, for the larger portion. Again, you get all of the sections into one convenient video over on Generally Nerdy. The name of the show is The Week in Nerddom. Thank you for checking out this clip. We will see you next time. Before we go, though, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.